You've heard of rom-coms where the guy always gets the girl. You've seen drom-coms where 1 minute you're laughing and the next you're crying. Well, this is TraumCom, where we face our inner demons head on. You know, the ones that caused us all that trauma. And then we're going to make fun of them together until they get real uncomfortable in a fun yet supportive space. All right. Hello, everybody. I'm Jacqueline Goldstein. I'm your host of TraumCom Podcast. And today is June 3rd. I can't even believe it already.
It is. Half year already.
Yes, ma'am. And today we have a guest on the show, lovely Gizelle Tircuit. Okay. Dr. Gizelle Tircuit, actually. She is actually an amazing woman. She's so full of resilience, and I am so happy to have you on the show today.
Oh, you're making me blush.
No. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Honestly.
Oh my God, yeah.
You're so awesome. The reason why she's on the show today is because she's a woman of experience and knowledge, and I just love her input on life. And she's very accomplished as well. She is the Director of Health and Wellness at Mitchell College here in New London, Connecticut. She actually is co-owner of Magnolia Wellness, LLC, and that is a wellness therapy office, right, business, that she co-owns with her daughter, Dr. Janelle Posey Green. And shout out to you, Janelle. Hey, girl. She's also the co-owner of Rose City Movement, which is a combination of Hodge Wellness, which is her co-owner, James Hodge, and Magnolia Wellness. So she had combined Hodge Wellness, that is a part where James comes in, and Magnolia Wellness, and now they have a combination, which is Rose City Movement, which is
community action.
Yeah,
all about community action, getting out here and doing things in the community, get people moving, thinking, and doing things for the next generations.
Absolutely. We appreciate that so much. So I'm not done, okay? She actually has a PhD in counseling psychology, and she has a master's in special education and psychology, which she actually got her undergrad from an HBCU.
HBCU.
Southern University of New Orleans, okay? Or you say New Orleans or New Orleans?
We say New Orleans.
New Orleans, okay.
We can always tell when you're not from there, because you get that New Orleans.
Okay, so I did it right the first time.
No,
All right,
you got
New
it
Orleans.
right.
All right,
New Orleans.
New Orleans. All right. And really, I'd like to just give everybody a background of how we met, because you are just a resounding woman. You are a woman of many talents, and I just kind of like seem to fall into between the places and meet like these extraordinary people along my journeys. Yeah. And so how did we
doing the things that we do? What I alluded to, we're out here in the community because we know the importance of community fellowship. We understand what we're doing out here, and primarily for the generations below us. Yeah. You're in the generation below me with my daughter and my kids, and then we're meeting at Mitchell College. And I think it was Dr. Kevin Booker who invited us in.
Dr. Kevin Booker Jr.
Because Dr. Kevin Booker, who will be doing the keynote speech at the Juneteenth flag raising on June 19th at City Hall here in Norwich.
Okay, which we'll talk about again later.
Yeah, absolutely. He has these amazing courses where he brings in community entrepreneurs. People who are in the community, so the students can see and meet these folks and know who's out there and what they're doing. Yes. And so that's how we met, doing things and promoting and supporting our next generations in college, those young adults and below.
Yeah, we're doing some guest facilitating. Yeah. And I do appreciate all the people that bring us together, because, great minds think alike. You don't have to be the same age. You don't have to be the same race. No. You don't have to have the same ideals, same politics. You just have to be a good person, be able to construe your positivity to the next generation.
Absolutely.
In a way that they can understand, and get it. So
they need to see us.
Yeah.
They need to see us because developmentally, we look ahead. I still look ahead to those folks who have come before me. However, to your point, and I love that you made this point, learning works both ways. When I'm teaching in the class, when I'm working with clients, I tell people I learn as much from them as I hope they learn from me, because that's how learning occurs. I don't know this woman inside and out. I don't know the clients that I get all the way until we get to connect. So there's a learning that has to occur because no one knows you better than you.
Right. And no one's our worst critic
than we are.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So it is so important to listen, to be able to be open and to listen to people and hear them with an open mind. We don't share the same experiences.
Right.
We may have melanin in our skin, but we come from different backgrounds. Like I said, I come from New Orleans. I've got the DNA of the world in me, but let's not get it twisted. It's African continent is the first part of the DNA, and then all the other little pieces that come in. But we are raised with different cultures.
Absolutely.
And it doesn't matter your skin color. It's about what you project positively and what you want. It's that intent.
Absolutely. Look at where you're from. You're from down south, and you had a whole different upbringing than I did. I'm from right up here in Connecticut, and I was raised totally different. I was raised a northerner. I had my father was white. My dad, my mom's black, and mixed, and all kinds of things.
Right.
So. But look at where we are today.
Yeah, look at where we are.
We're together in this room.
Right.
We've made a connection.
Correct.
And that's something that I want to talk about.
Yeah.
I want to bring up is the fact that we have all undergone some sort of different upbringing.
Absolutely.
Right? And there's different things that we've gone through as children and as adults, because sometimes our childhood could be really, really great and wonderful, but we don't really understand or experience struggle, or loss, or any kind of negative really feelings, or gone through any tough times until we're an adult, or vice versa. Sometimes we've had a really tough beginning, right? And now we're trying to make it easier. We're learning, we're growing, and it's up to us to make it easier.
And interesting that you say that, because this research has shown with trauma that many times it's not something huge that has to happen. Absolutely, something huge can happen, but it does not necessarily mean that you will develop PTSD from that, because it does come down to how you how the information comes in, and then your village that you have around you, and how you mitigate that. But it can be little things along the line, those micro traumatic events that come together, and boom, you might get where you start suffering with PTSD symptoms because of these smaller things that have occurred along your timeline.
Right.
So
and we talked earlier, and you mentioned that there's been a few guests on our show that have a very direct and specific trauma that has occurred, and they know it, they want to talk about it. But you mentioned, you're like, there hasn't really been anything too huge, no massive, but as we were talking, we started from the beginning, and we talked about a lot of things. Now, those little pebbles, those little dots, those timelines, it adds up.
It does. It adds up,
and it
boils
up,
yes,
and and sometimes it can boil over.
Yes.
If we're not conscious of it, So one thing I'd like you to share with us is, I know you mentioned you grew up in New Orleans.
Yes.
Predominantly black upbringing, African
Creole,
American,
and we say Creole.
Right. There's so many.
We say
blacks.
Creole.
There's
and,
like African American. There's
absolutely.
African,
And I do make a distinction with that, because part of my teaching, when I'm teaching, I was doing a race, culture, and ethnicity course.
Okay.
As my daughter is doing that now at Mitchell College, but I talk to students about those variations that you get. Here in Connecticut, we have had, in the 90s, we had a lot of our Haitian Creole folks coming in. Now, Haitian Creole is my ancestry, because if you don't know your history, and after the revolution, 1803, where they freed themselves from slavery within Haiti, I'm gonna give it the pronunciation it deserves.
Teach me something.
They came to New Orleans. They went to New Orleans. We had a lot of our independent business owners that started businesses in New Orleans. You had free people, gens de couleur, which were the free people of color. You had our...
Say it again?
Gens de couleur. Journée des People of Color. It's free of people free of color.
Okay.
Free people of color. I apologize. And then we had our Haitian immigrants that came over and had huge businesses that started. So there is a huge variation that you find in that part of the United States, that when we say Creole, it's a Louisiana Creole, and our Creole is spelled with a K and not a C.
Yep. Which I've seen before, but
yes,
to be honest, I didn't really understand the
right,
difference.
Right,
as
it's
a
Creole,
northerner.
yeah, Creole that developed because there we have the DNA of the world. And I've shared my Ancestry.com with my students because I like them to understand that people have variations. And when you understand DNA and how those chromosomes work and how they come together to make who you see in front of you, it's because there's this huge variation. You know, my DNA spans from India, in Asian India, to Norway, to the Mediterranean, to the Caribbean, France, Spain, and of course, the main one started with the African continent, the western portion of the African continent, and then all of these others converged in the New Orleans area because it was a major port.
Okay.
It still is a major port,
Yes, it
but
is.
we had people of the world coming in there, and they're intermarrying, and they're marrying, and they're making babies, and you've got all of these different DNAs that you find combined exclusive to that area. You're not going to find that type of ancestry lineage in other places in the world because it varies so much in that area. So
Absolutely.
yeah, so
Wow.
just a little lesson.
Wow, that's
just
a lot.
little lesson.
And you know, you can never really mistake someone when they talk to you that's from New Orleans as well.
Yeah.
Right? They got that special
Yeah,
twang.
there's something.
There's
Yeah,
something
there's
that's
something.
something different that even if you've never been there
There's something
before,
in there,
you
right.
can just tell, you know.
Yeah, there's something in there.
There's something
Absolutely.
special
Yes.
in there for sure.
Yeah,
And-
it is.
and-
Because we're about people. We're about
Yeah,
community.
absolutely.
You know, we have our own issues like every place does. We have our own issues, but we welcome people
Yeah.
because we understand what it means to be a child of the world
Right.
and to be welcoming and loving.
And you are, and that's something that you embody so well. Oh
Thank
my
you.
gosh.
I hope so. I carry New Orleans with me wherever
Yes,
I go.
she does.
Absolutely.
And you know, she sprinkles it a little bit along the way everywhere she goes
Absolutely.
too. She's teaching me a
Little
little something
Little
every
filet
day.
all over the place.
I
yeah.
love it.
No filet.
And growing up for you,
Yeah.
you know, you've become this successful woman, and you're proud of your culture, and you're able to express that freely. But I know it wasn't always like that.
No.
And
It's been a road.
we talked a little bit about some of the struggles growing up.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people can relate to one thing.
Yeah.
We'll start with,
Yeah.
and that is from the beginning, and that's being an only child
Yeah.
in a home where not everybody has time for the only child, and you kind of left to your
Yeah.
own devices.
You get
your own
you
thoughts.
get caught up, yeah. You get and growing up where I did, many times you heard, get out of grown folks' business.
Children are
Stay
to
in
be
a
seen, not heard.
child's place. Well, I was around grown-ups because I didn't have any siblings around when I wasn't visiting my cousins or anything. So you get caught up in this quandary of I'm sitting here and listening to all these grown folk, but they don't want me in their business.
Yeah,
They don't want me in their business. So you
nobody
know,
wants me around then.
Yeah, you kind of
kinda
get
get
caught up
that-
in that. Yeah,
that
you get caught up
feeling.
in that. Yeah.
And when you were growing up, you actually were growing up in a time where the Vietnam War was
Yeah,
still going
those
on.
70s, yeah. Yeah.
In the
yeah,
70s.
Absolutely.
And what were some of your experiences as being a child during that time, and also being in a household where you felt like you weren't?
Yeah, you know,
really-
there was a definitely, you know, I got attention, absolutely.
Of course.
But
you had
there's
love,
that
but-
piece where you feel like, again, like I said, stay in a child's place. You know, you're listening to things, to grown-up things, what's happening, a lot of it being on the news. There was a lot going on in those early 70s.
sure you
You know,
didn't
we had
understand it all
the
then
Black
either.
Panther movement going on. I saw Angela Davis on daily, beautiful black woman with this huge afro that was so outspoken and trying to do things within her community, as were the Black Panthers, trying to do things feed children in their community so that they weren't hungry.
A lot of people had a negative stigma.
Yes,
on the Black
that's not
Panther,
what it was.
Black Panther movement.
That's not what it was.
No, it wasn't. It was really about empowerment.
Yes,
absolutely. And freedom of speech.
Absolutely.
And all freedoms, right?
Yeah, so there was a lot going on that I was seeing at that time. You know, and there was that benefit of being an only child, because I was able to hear all of these things and take all this in and understand how our environment, what's going on around us, impacts us.
Yes.
You know, people grieving, dealing with the loss of their family, their loved ones.
People
and
going off to war.
going off to war, coming back or not coming back. If they were missing in action and they were never found.
Right.
So, you know, it's hearing all of that. And at the same time, growing up in a place where we had music all the time.
The music
so
down there.
There was, you know, there are celebrations, they're doing things, but there's also this underlying thing that's going on. There's like this specter that was hanging around, that was kind of feeling like it was pulling down,
and the music was a distraction.
And the music, it was a distraction, absolutely.
And that's for
to help uplift,
right?
Yeah,
to help
absolutely,
kind of like veil that
absolutely
underlying feeling that you were talking about.
Yes, and my mother was a singer.
Yeah, but music is almost and so much more than that, especially down there in the South. Back then, there's a lot of jazz, there's a lot of blues.
Yeah.
A lot of people say that was the birthplace of that culture, cultural music.
That music,
And it wasn't just a distraction, but it served as that in a peaceful and positive way, just to get people out of their heads and not so you know.
And that's how the blues came along.
Exactly.
Blues came along out of slavery.
Exactly.
You know, you got people who are, you know, if they were in church and you're singing about
gospel,
what those things that are going on in your life and how you're feeling. And you know, it's funny because people like to sometimes connect the blues with the movie Sinners coming out.
Yeah.
Connecting the blues
you
with
saw that
juke
movie,
joints.
right?
Oh, God,
I saw that movie too.
Oh, yes.
I want to know, like,
amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing movie. Amazing
You liked
movie.
it.
Oh, God, yes.
And
it was us.
Yeah.
It was us.
There's a lot of that folklore.
It was us, yes.
In there.
Annie was such a real person to me.
Okay, so for all of you guys who haven't seen Sinners yet, that's a new movie that just came out, and just really gives you a rundown in a specific frame of one group of people, right? About some of the
Clarksville, Mississippi is where it takes place.
Okay.
And Coogler pulled on folklore.
Yeah.
He pulled on folklore and the dynamics down south. Like I said, Annie, the character Annie, comes from Louisiana. She is a medicine woman. She is a practitioner of the ancient ancestral arts, as my daughter is. My daughter uses ancestral practices in our practice.
Okay.
She specifically works with a lot of that. But Annie was real because I could see Annie like in the people that I grew up around.
Yeah.
You know, believe it or not, people would come to Louisiana to specifically see people to get what they
for sure.
needed to be healed.
Spiritually and physically.
Absolutely. So, you know, there, like I said, popping back to the 70s, there was a lot going on. With me being an only child, you know, we talked a little bit about the bullying thing.
Yeah.
You know, I grew up Catholic. And so
Catholic, African American, you know, a only child, a young girl, in the times of the war, in times of racism, in times of change, and
big changes,
and you on top of that had to endure bullying from your peers.
Even in Catholic school. I think it was probably worse.
Oh, my goodness.
You know, you had, you know, it was terrible because growing up Catholic, you're taught about Jesus's love for all. You turn the other cheek. If you're kind to people, they will be kind to you. Well, it didn't always work like that. And it was very confusing. Why, you know, I was kind to folks and they were just mean to me and wanted to fight or push me around and different things, and it was confusing. And what you wind up doing at a young age, as young kids do, you internalize that.
Exactly.
And you start thinking, something must be wrong with me.
What's wrong with me?
What is wrong with me? Am I ugly?
Am
I? Because I was a chunky kid. I was chunky, so it's like, is it because I'm the fat kid on the block, or you start internalizing that. You really do.
Yeah. Unfortunately, you do, because it gets to you.
Yeah,
and
it
you're
does.
young. And you're young.
Yes.
And you're impressionable.
Yes.
And you're susceptible to
Right.
other people's
right.
talk and
meanness,
and
vitriol.
everything.
Yes, absolutely.
So how did you find the strength to like overcome that? How old were you when that kind of was happening?
You know
in
what?
that
I think it's a
Catholic school?
progression.
Yeah,
It's a progression. You go through, and as you go about, you learn. And that is really what got me, got me in a position to start looking at psychology and the behavior.
That's what I wanted to
and
know.
how people behave. Because I look at folks and think, why do they behave like that? Why do people hurt each other?
Why do hurt
for
people
no
hurt
reason?
people?
Yes. Why are we hurting people? And again, it's all around. Whether it's the bully on the playground, or it's people being killed in the war. I'm looking at folks on TV, the Black Panther movement. I'm looking at Angela Davis being jailed for wanting to help and bring education and knowledge, an understanding of people, and wondering why do people act like that?
So you developed a deep sense of curiosity.
Absolutely,
So
about
much
human
so.
behavior
Yeah.
and why people respond to certain stimuli. Why do people behave like this?
Right.
Why can't you find within you that thing that looks at a person and sees a person?
Right.
That is a person who feels something, who can hurt and feel sad.
That empathy factor.
That empathy piece, yeah.
You have it or you don't.
Yes.
And it's really unfortunate when there are people that you can tell aren't very empathetic naturally.
Right.
And it really it impacts everything.
Yeah.
And I don't understand why people act the way they do either. I don't understand why people bully other people, want to make people feel bad. But we talk about that sometimes, and like 9 times out of 10, that person was actually bullied
him or herself
by somebody.
Right, by someone.
Yeah.
Yes. There's something
or
going on
abused
internal.
or in some kind of way.
Right.
So
Right. There was something going on internally, and that their own insecurities come out, whatever that might be, and so they project that onto others.
And yeah, they do. And we talked about the fact that how when you are an only child, you kind of have to self-soothe.
Yeah.
We were talking about that yesterday.
We joke about that a lot, There's
Yeah.
a line in, oh God, what's the movie? Now and Then. It's a movie that's from the 90s. It's one of my favorite movies. But one of the kids in the movie is an only child. And so the narrator says only children either become, they're liars or they become actresses because what did I do? Watching television. I knew every song, and I know most people don't know who Lawrence Welk is, but these shows like Hee Haw, these country, knew all these songs. I pretended a lot because you find ways you have to entertain you. And back then we had to entertain ourselves. Yeah. We didn't have Game Boys and PlayStation, jacks, pickup sticks, hopscotch. Things that you did, you had to entertain yourself. Acting was part of it. I wanted to be an opera singer. When I first started at Southern University at New Orleans, I went in to be an opera singer. And but they had just closed the vocal music program. They had just closed it. And so I was like, well, I guess I'll be a secretary. I'll go to secretary. I had seven different majors before
she could do
landed.
anything.
In other words, veterinary sciences. I was going to do quite a few things before I actually stuck with psychology. Because actually, they gave me an ultimatum. It's like, you need to pick something and get out of here. You cannot be a permanent student. That's not how it works.
Jack of all trades isn't a major here.
This is not a major here. You need to get going. So. You learn to soothe in ways. You entertain yourself. You play, act, you sing. Ballet. I was doing ballet. I was doing flamenco. All of these. You teach. Yes.
And that's how I was too. I'm an only child as well, and so I understand a lot of what you're talking about. I did so much to keep myself busy. I remember sometimes being in my room by myself and watching TV, but that not really being enough stimulation for me. So like always kind of multitasking. When the TV was on, I'd be watching my show, but I'd be like working out or like doing something, doing some drawing or writing.
And I have an ADD brain.
Yeah,
and I
love
multitasking. The vestibular movement, the movement. I love learning, but for me to sit and actually get through a book was like pulling teeth. Because it was hard for me to just want to sit still and focus. I wanted to move. I needed that active vestibular movement. Yes, that later on, that classrooms moved to more of that station type of learning, where you had stations set up for students because you realized they need the movement. I was a little girl that couldn't sit in her seat in school. I was a little girl that was jumping up. Ooh, call me. Little girls weren't doing that, but that was me. That was my brain. Because I needed that movement. I needed to move around.
And you're an outward thinker. You're somebody that can't be put in a box. There are people that just stand out and you speak your mind as soon as
I've had to learn to do that though. Jackie, I've had to learn to do that because again, I think when you you can relate, when you grow up, you don't want to rock the boat because you want people to like you and love you. And the one thing I did, because I have 5 kids. I wanted kids. I was not going to let my kids be all by themselves.
Only child like you were, right?
5 kids. Yeah, 5 kids.
There's no way that was going to happen.
And I knew the importance of them being self-confident. Especially my daughter. Janelle's the oldest. She was the firstborn. And I knew for her, I didn't want her to grow up and have to struggle with self-confidence. So I intellectually knew to pour into her, you are beautiful, you are phenomenal, you can do and be anything you want to be over and over and over and over again, because I knew the importance of that. I didn't want her to have to struggle with that like I did. And really coming into my own and understanding how to stand in my truth in my 40s. So it took a while once the kids started leaving.
Then you could focus
and I could focus a little bit more on myself.
Because when you become a mother, you want to give your kid everything you didn't have. You don't want your child to feel the bad feelings that you felt at once.
But you have to experience life. Because I learned from that. Your path is your path. And when kids are when people and kids do things, the conversation is always, there'll be consequences, there are things that will happen, but you just want to make sure that it's something you can recover from. Because you have to learn. And unfortunately, I think nowadays with the snowplow parents and the helicopter parenting, kids aren't able to experience what they need to walk their path to learn. Because as difficult as it can be for many of us and the emotional struggles, I learned from each of those. What have I learned from this experience? What am I taking forward? Because that's the important thing. What have I learned? What am I, not why this happened to me, what have I learned and what am I taking forward with me? Because that's forward thinking. That's what I look for when I talk to people. Because they're thinking forward and they're thinking, how am I improving myself? What am I taking forward? And that is what's important.
And you really do a great job of explaining to your students and to people that are around you and to your clients that you need to be able to pour into yourself as well as you pour into other people.
Absolutely.
You really do a great job of showing that balance, And we have Liam with us today, and he's our producer extraordinaire, as I like to call him.
Hello.
My Irish cousin.
How you doing, Liam? How are you today?
How's it going?
Hey, it's going good. Thanks for sitting in and listening to us chat.
Hey, Liam, did you know the main character in Sinners, one of the main characters was an Irish vampire?
Is it really?
Yes, it is.
Did you see that movie yet?
Nope.
You haven't seen it yet?
No, I want to see it really badly, though.
You got to see it, man.
I'm a big fan of
it's
Michael B.
amazing.
Jordan, so.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
The story is deep. It's deep.
It is.
You just, you gotta.
That's a
watch
conversation for a podcast, believe it.
For
When you
sure.
see it, you're going to understand why I'm saying that.
Yeah.
And on one of our podcasts previously, Liam was talking to us a little bit about being a middle child.
Oh, yeah.
and some experiences that he had growing up, being a middle child, kind of, having to be the constant.
Yes.
Where his older brother was, had his struggles and his issues.
Yes.
And the youngest
you got the baby back there.
The baby was a girl too.
Oh.
So there's a lot of attention, right?
Yeah.
And Liam, he's proven to be. He just graduated.
I just did graduate.
Congratulations.
All about that, please.
Yeah, I graduated from Eastern Connecticut State University.
Yay!
With a degree in communications.
Surprise.
Go figure.
Yeah. Yeah. Now I'm figuring out what I want to do. I have some ideas.
Beautiful.
So yeah, I'm pretty excited.
Beautiful. Yeah, those middle kids find they tend to be more sobering. Like they look at things more like seriously because you've got this one up front, you got this one behind me. I'm watching the front one get a lot of flack. The back one's the baby. They seem to get all the kind. They get just people just give them what they give them.
Yep.
But the middle child has to find that middle ground.
Absolutely.
The middle ground, and you guys tend to go out here and excel, but it can be a struggle because you are in the middle.
Yeah, it's interesting. I definitely notice a lot. My brother and sister get more attention for sure with certain stuff.
Yeah.
But I'm fine with it. I don't really fight for the big attention that they want. So I'm good with being in the shadows a lot of the time. So
Welcome to being a middle child.
yeah, I've kind of gotten used to that like side of it, just being in the background.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Have you ever experienced or know anybody that grew up with any type of like being bullied or had bullying experience? Have you seen that?
I mean, I have, and I definitely know a lot of people that have.
Yeah.
A lot of mine was just because of my learning disability and like certain stuff like that. Yeah, so like from elementary school to high school, it didn't, but that was just also because of my dad and his job and like all that stuff too. Like really,
he was a principal, right, of the school.
Yeah, and he became the superintendent.
Oh. Okay.
So the same school system I was going to.
Yeah.
And even now, like I still walk around town, and like people are like, "Oh, picking up for Liam Saranich," and they're like, "Wait, is your dad Kenneth?" I'm like, "Yep, that's my dad." Like,
kind of like almost being in his shadow a little bit.
Yeah, it's awesome.
And then people have those expectations of you.
Yeah. It's a lot of but I'm more noticed more than my other siblings. As much as I'm more in the background of my family, I'm very much in the public eye of the town more because I do a lot of public stuff.
Right.
More than my siblings do.
Yeah.
So more people know who I am versus my other siblings. So yeah.
Well, you're exerting yourself more. You're putting your best foot forward.
You're out there,
you know.
Yeah.
In the community, doing things, and that's what's important. Being part of the community.
Yeah, me and my dad have been the Shelton Herald a few times. It's the newspaper in my town.
Awesome.
So
I bet.
Yeah.
So that's how me and Liam met because I was a guest on his podcast, which he has, which is called Lounging Around Podcast. Shameless plug for you, Liam. I love it. You know, and he has a co-host, Matt.
Matt Kiskin.
Yeah, Matt Kiskin. He's hilarious. They're really funny together. And they talk about a lot of different wild stuff, but you know, they're hilarious. And I just appreciated the fact that, you know, he saw, you know, and he heard my idea. You know, because I know that there's so many people out here that are going through so many hard times, and part of the reason why I want to bring this show to light so much is because I want to try to really remove the majority, at least. I can't do it all, but the negative stigma of people who have undergone some sort of trauma in their life, and people hear the word trauma and they're like, oh, what happened? You know, something big must have happened and messed them up. You know, and it's like, no, it's not like that. You know, like you said in the beginning, we've talked on other shows about one big thing that's happened to people. We've had abuse, we've had incarceration, we've had all kinds of things, but it doesn't have to be just one thing.
No.
It can be
those
little
tiny
things.
micro traumas that occur.
And,
Absolutely.
and you're in charge of how that affects you so much.
Yeah.
And I just want to shine a light on how much therapy and speaking to somebody, counseling,
it
therapy
does.
can really help.
Right.
Just clear the air.
Yes.
And something that you said to me before really stuck in my mind. And because I've been to therapy in the past, and then I'm like, okay, did I graduate? Like, am I done? Am I healed? Am I, like,
here's your
stick a fork in me?
certificate.
Yeah. Stick a fork in me. I'm done. Like, because literally I've come to a point in past sessions with therapists, over months and months or periods of time, right, where it's like, okay, like I think I'm okay. I think I got this now. I talked about all these things, and right now everything seems to be going okay. Yeah. So I'm good, right? I'm good. And then they're like, and then I don't see them again. Yeah. But what happens in a month or 2 or 3 from then, where something happens where I'm like, oh, how do I deal with this? Yeah. And I'm like, oh, well, I graduated therapy already, so I should know how to handle this.
That finiteness,
but does that happen to people though? I mean, I can't be the only one.
I think it depends on how it's discussed. Right. Because when folks come to me or before they come to me and we have a conversation, I teach my students this. Therapy does not have to be forever. It can be one session. It could be, and we're giving up to 6 sessions, because you want to get to know people. You want them to get a feel for you and whether or not it's a good match or if they need to maybe look for someone else. Yeah. But it should be open. I teach people, that's James and I together. James, who I was talking about with my business partner, James, who does Mahaj Wellness, he's the physical aspect of it. I'm the psychological aspect of it. He does
massage therapy too.
Yes, and nutrition, information, diet, pre-diabetic stuff. He's a yoga instructor, certified yoga instructor. And so you cannot separate the mental from the physical. They go hand in hand. One affects the other. And so I talk to folks about when you go for a checkup, consider doing a check-in. And the checkup is the physical aspect of it. The check-in can be every 2 years. You can, if nothing's going on, you call a therapist and say, hey, I just want to come in and do a check-in. I want to talk open, see what's going on, and see if there's anything there that might pop up, or I just want to check in. Mm-hmm. And for some folks, you'd be surprised. Some things come up and you go, wow, I didn't realize this was bothering me like this. Or it can be, you know what, I'm glad I came out to see you. Thank you for listening to me. Yeah, I think, I'm feeling good about where I am right now in life and what's going on. And so you say to someone, I'm here. I'm here if you need me. Call me, because in a month from now, something could happen. Yeah. There are daily things that can change on a daily basis. Your mood, your job, your relationships, your sleep. Sleep is very important. Yeah. Nutrition. There are things that can change on a daily basis that will can impact you. So just because you leave that office and you're good, a month, it might not be like that. No, right. But it doesn't mean you have to come back, because if you're learning strategies, if you have a village of people around you that are supportive, if you have what you need to find the balance, that's good. But there are times, because I also said to you, we have friends who love us. Mm-hmm. And when we go see those friends and we're talking to them about what's going on in our lives, they're at an subconscious level want the best for you. And they would be like, well, kick that mother so-and-so to the curb.
They're biased.
You don't need to be on your side. They're biased. They're going to be on your side. Mm-hmm. When you go to a therapist who's neutral, that person is listening to you and reflecting what they hear you saying, so then you can think about that. Because nobody knows you better than you. So you talk about some strategies that you can develop, that you can take with you to help balance the village of folks you have around you that help support you. But it's just getting that neutral person to just listen to you and reflect what it is you're saying and what it sounds like is happening in your life. Important. It doesn't have to be a lifetime. Therapy does not have to be a lifetime. And I think TV gives that. Gives that impression. Oh yeah, I've been in therapy. Yeah, there are people who have been in therapy. but you don't have to, and I think that scares people off sometimes.
Yeah.
You don't have to.
No, and I appreciate that because it's a reminder too for myself. Liam, have you ever dabbled in therapy? Have you ever seen?
I've had 5 different therapists in my life.
Okay, you've dabbled and dabbled.
I've dabbled for like the past 6 years.
Yeah, and you get what you need from people.
Yeah.
Can I ask you why you've seen 5 different therapists in the last 6 years?
Well, 4 of them didn't work out, and I
like what were your experiences? Like like was it just like did you not connect with them, or what was it really?
it was just different approaches that didn't work for me, you know. So like,
did you know what you wanted when you went in?
yeah, like I'm pretty much like, I know what's wrong with me. I know what I need to fix.
Yeah.
And like, it's not that like I lead the sessions, but it's like, this is what's wrong. I'd like to get this talked about. And the thing about it too is like, I treat it like it's a joking, like, stand-up comedy thing. Like, I just tell jokes and like whatever the entire time, like, and I get through like a lot of humor and stuff. So I need someone that's gonna like sit there and like kind of laugh with me a bit and like understand why I'm saying the things I'm saying, but then take the joke and like dissect it.
Yes.
Because you're internalizing the emotion and turning it into a joke.
Yeah.
And it's humor. I'm not going to say, because I do this, I'm going to say this.
A lot of people do
Liam,
it.
I do the same thing. I've learned you take things and you see the funny side of it, because it helps to mitigate and balance what could be a worse situation. And so, so it's not that you're making it. It's like, this is just how because I know there's a balance to things, and this is just how I look at things. This is how I look at situations, but I learn from those situations at the same time.
Yeah.
And someone who could relate to that and laugh and say, because I pull in my therapies. I talk about Harry Potter. Because I'm a nerd. I'll pull in astronomy, astrology, because but you find and you meet people where they are.
Yeah.
And that's what it's about. You have to meet people where they are.
Connect with them.
Yes.
Everyone's
Connect with
different.
them. Yes.
So have you been seeing someone now that you've been ongoing with?
Past 2 years I've been seeing the same one.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Good.
Found someone that
you
you
found someone. That's good, sweetie.
Yeah. So she works with me really well.
Nice.
But then I had like guys and girls and different stuff like that. So I've always like switched it up. But the other ones, like I had like one guy that was just kind of like, because he thought like, because I did sports, I'm like, I was more like a meathead kind of thing. I didn't say that, but I could tell that's what he thought more of, and I was like, that's not like, I don't
generalized you.
Yeah, I was just like, I don't really think like that, but and I was like, respectfully, that's not how I think, but I understand why you think that. I might look like it for sure, but no. But
that's not what a therapist should do. They're not supposed to come in and prejudge.
That's interesting.
That is interesting, because it does attest to the fact of, go back to what you said earlier, finding someone that fits for you.
Yeah.
Because not every therapist is going to give you a great experience.
That's right.
Because guess what? They're people too. They're human beings too, and they're flawed. They're imperfect, and they have things with them as well. They're humans. They're not therapists. Are not perfect people. They're not 100% healed people. They just, are able to talk to other people about their emotions and help them with theirs.
Right.
Maybe as they're going along, helping themselves too. Because no one's ever perfect or fully healed.
Right, and you've got
everything's changing. all the time anyway.
You've got to be able to, because I've had I've been doing this now for over 10 years. Just this part of it, I've been in this world, psychology world, for quite a long time.
Yeah.
But I've had folks where I've had to say, look, I don't think it's working out. We're talking their strategies, but I don't see you using the strategies. And I've had to say, I don't want you spinning your wheels, and I sure don't want to spin mine. I will help you find somebody.
Yeah. Nobody likes to have their time wasted or waste other people's time.
Absolutely. And I'm okay with that, because everyone is not for you. You're not going to match up with everybody.
You're not going to. And Liam, just circling back to what you said about humor, kind of. For me, I've always said that humor and jokes has been a defense mechanism for my own emotions,
Yeah.
so that people don't see when I'm hurt or people don't feel when I'm angry. It's kind of like when someone makes you kind of, when you're in public and someone says something that really ticks you off and you kind of do a little, a little chuckle, you know. You know, you've done it, done it, we've all done it.
Yeah.
Oh boy, if I wasn't here.
It's like, let me step away right now.
Yeah, that little chuckle. It's so involuntary. You don't even realize you're doing it sometimes, right? You're just, it's something that I think is like a switch for a lot of people when you're at that utmost feeling of like, what am I, you know, frustration or despair or sadness or anger or confusion. What the hell else are you gonna do? You're gonna laugh. You gotta laugh about it, and that is why TraumCom exists for me in my head. This is that what you said, Liam. It literally is the show.
Yeah.
It's why I'm doing what I'm doing, because that's how I also internalize my frustration and my anger. And when I'm expressing that to somebody else, I don't want to seem sad and I don't want to seem angry. Just laugh. Let's laugh about this with me, you know, and it does make you kind of feel better. But like you said, somebody that you're talking to that is, you know, trained to pick up on those emotional cues. That we
and
know when it's
that.
not really, we know when it's not really
that.
a joke. It's not a funny ha-ha joke. It's really like, oh,
Yeah.
you know. So
it's like, why are you feeling? Talk about that feeling that right now. Why are you feeling like that? What's going on?
Exactly, and I think a lot of people do revert to humor and comedy as a mechanism to deal with what they're dealing with, and so they don't come across and have that. It's a vulnerability, you know, to be seen when you're in that emotional state.
Yes, it is.
And and if you're not ready to be vulnerable with that person that you're talking to at that moment, it might come off as a joke. You might laugh, a little chuckle. You might make sarcastic, cynical remarks, and it makes you feel better in the moment, you know. So thank you for sharing that with us. Because, you know,
thank you for being vulnerable.
He's like, I was just vulnerable. You know, that word is it makes you feel vulnerable, doesn't it?
Yeah.
There's just something about the verbiage. You know, you can say certain things in certain ways, and like, as soon as you say that vulnerable, that V word, it all stops. Whoa, hold up. We're not doing that.
Oh my God.
You know, but we can laugh about it, and I really want to thank you for coming on today.
Thank you for having me. I'm honored. I'm honored because I you know, we're out here as you are. We're out here working, as are you, Liam. You're out in the community, and you don't think, it's not like you're sitting down tallying what you do. You go out of here and you do things because it needed to be done, and that's why it's interesting. Oh, tell me what you did. Well, I'm like, I'm out here just doing things. I'm not tallying. I'm not looking for accolades. I'm not. So when someone comes up and says something, I'm truly honored.
Oh, girl,
I'm truly honored
you've
because
earned that respect.
We're all out here, good people. There are good people out here in our communities trying to make a difference and trying to bring positive social change. And we have to connect and support each other and acknowledge each other. Absolutely. Because we're finding right now things are not happening at a grassroots community level, and I'm going to throw this in here. Things are happening from a top-down perspective as from a bottom up. The way things should be going is community up, and you have people who represent you. It's not like that right now. We have people up here who are doing what they need
representing
to do,
themselves.
and it's going and it's not going in the right direction that it should go. So we need more of our connections so we can come together and do things in the community and support all aspects and all the people in our community.
Now, does your practice do telehealth as well?
Yes,
you do.
Yes, we do telehealth as well.
So I'm gonna just throw out here some information. I'm going to allow her to share her website and phone number in case there's anybody out there that wants to connect and you're not local. That's totally fine. You know, it's just an outlet. It's something if you'd like to have, you know, something to share.
Yes, because I've had people call me, to your point, I just want to say this. Yes. I've had people call me and I've helped them find what they need because that's what you do. You're out here helping people. And I'm not taking them but I'm helping to direct them to where they need to go to get the help that
Plus,
they need.
you have a plethora of resources.
Yes.
You have a lot of.
Yes.
You're very connected.
Absolutely.
And not only do you practice, you're a co-owner of 2 different
Yes.
wellness practices.
Yes.
But you are involved in a wide community of,
Yes.
of mental health.
Absolutely.
People that are in the field and that would love to step in and take on new clients.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
go ahead and.
So we have my Magnolia Wellness is Magnolia Wellness LLC is we do have a webpage, magnoliawell.org. You can go to that and you can find my daughter and myself and reach out to us. If you're looking for a resource and you can't find it, we will help you find that. If you're looking for therapeutic support, we can help you get that, whether it's myself or my daughter. And then I also have, and the number for that would be 860-885-9744. To contact us, 860-885-9744. And the other program that I do with James, our Rose City Movement, which is here in Norwich, we do community contacts. We're out here doing things. We most recent, we have Juneteenth is coming up.
Bring that up to here.
We have Juneteenth coming up. So part of Juneteenth is there's a flag raising that's coming up on Thursday, June 19th at 10 a.m. at the town hall. For an hour, we'll be raising a flag. As I said, Dr. Kevin Booker will be our keynote speaker, talking about the reflections of Juneteenth, what that means. We also have this dance coming up on Saturday, June 21st, beginning at 7 p.m. We're asking people to come out. There are donations. We're looking for like $10 minimum donation. And that's going to go towards a ladies' tea that we're having at the end of the month on Sunday, June 29th here at Castle Church at 2 p.m. There will be, there is a flyer for that, and you can go on and purchase a ticket and or make a donation.
Yes.
So we're doing a lot of things in the community,
Yeah.
Rose City
Absolutely.
Movement. So look for us. There's Pride Month. This is Pride Month.
Yes, we are.
On June 16th, there's something happening at the Otis Library.
That's in Norwich, Connecticut.
Yes, a health awareness event. We want people to come out because we're supporting our I'm sorry, drawing a blank. Our LGBTQIA plus community out here. So please come to Otis Library starting at 12 noon on June 16th and help support our LGBTQIA community.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
This was nice.
Thank you. I can't wait to have
Liam, thank you, sweetheart.
Yeah. Of course.
You're the best. Can't believe
This
you
was beautiful.
rocking
yeah.
and rolling with me this long, and I really look forward to so many more shows.
All of the other things that we're doing too. We got a lot of things coming up together.
We do have a lot of things coming up, and we'll talk more about that. And
Yes.
and as soon as Dr. Janelle can find some time in her schedule, we will be having you back on the show because I'd like to delve deeper when we have time.
Yeah.
To talk about a mother-daughter relationship.
Yes.
In the work field as well.
Yeah.
Having a business with your daughter, what it's like for her, what it's like for you. So that's something that is going to be coming up on an episode as well. So
Excited looking for that. She's an
Yeah.
amazing person.
She is, absolutely. I met her a couple of years before I
Yeah,
met you.
you did. That's
Yep.
right. You knew Janelle before you knew me.
Yep,
That's right.
absolutely.
That's right, honey.
So, anyways, thank you so much for tuning in today. I hope that you got some insight. I hope that maybe there's something that you could have related to, or maybe you know someone that has gone through some of the things we talked about today and maybe perhaps gotten some better insight on how that person might feel or how to deal with something like that.
Yeah.
And again, Dr. Tircuit is here, and she is at your service as well.
I
At
am.
Magnolia Wellness.
Yes.
And
Rose
at
City Movement. Rose City Movement. We are on Facebook. Look for the Rose City Movement. Like us. Follow us for all the events that are coming up in the community. Yes, please.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, everybody. Have a great rest of your day.
Bye.
Bye.